Oh, he says he's in route.
Okay,
Hey,
we're live.
Sean is, did you go live?
Sean's in route, but we have a quorum if he wants.
We're almost that.
Are we on?
Yeah, we're on. I thought you said it was coming. All right, we'll call the October 13th meeting to order,
October 13th.
and we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge.
We are whole.
There he is. I wouldn't have started, but I thought I heard you say he wasn't
We
coming.
have to clean up
That's
there.
my best part.
All right.
Favorite part.
Sean, thanks for coming in.
Sure. It's my favorite part.
All right, Jamie, did we get to the minutes?
Minutes are not ready.
Okay, so you lied to us.
He did her best.
All right, let's do the continuances. 242-1822, 45 Katuitt Street, continued to October 27th.
So,
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one is 242-1816, 325 Johnson Street.
Move to continue.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. 242-1826, 175 Old Cart Way.
I move to continue.
All those in favor say,
Second.
sorry, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one is 242-1787, 135 North Ramp Road. Request to continue.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.
No, one abstention.
And one abstention.
Lou abstention.
That's right, Lou abstains.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
All right, so we'll start over again. 242-1820, 227 Berry Street.
New plan. Okay.
Good evening, all.
1 second.
Sorry, sorry.
Let Amy speak first. You know,
Okay.
you might, with any luck, you might not even have to speak.
Okay, that's fine with me. I'll just sit here.
Let's see how it goes.
Unless you want to earn your pay.
No, no, but,
All right.
So the commission recall, this is a demolition of an existing rear porch and reconstruction. The revised plan came in, and they are utilizing the same footprint now of what's there. So no increase into the 25. And the other issue was the hot tub to be removed, which is removed, and we have photographic evidence of that. So we're at the point where, you know, it's an in-kind replacement now. So, you know, waivers aren't really needed for in-kind replacement. The plan does show that the plantings are retained within the area of the wetland that's being mowed as lawn. So, you know, I don't know if you guys have any questions, but I,
Lou, I have none. No question.
Sean, no question? Jeff?
No question.
Motion?
Move to close an issue and that's what it is.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. See, I told you.
Good job.
I gotta say something.
I know. No,
Go Red Sox.
No.
How about that?
We'll go Red Sox.
There you go.
no.
Thank you.
Appreciate your plan revisions very much. Thank you.
See you.
All righty, thanks.
Something here for you
Oh.
on
Okay.
Friday. Something for you to,
Oh, Jamie.
Amy, refresh my memory, weren't we supposed to take an enforcement order out of order? Because they were trying to go get a, we had cleared it up before
They
they
requested
applied.
continuance, we pushed it out to the next meeting, right?
Oh, okay, is that what it is?
Yes, that's
Which
correct.
one?
Yes, Lou.
Osgood, we pushed up to the next, that special meeting.
It had to
Yes.
do, it had to do with the property on Osgood Street, that there's an enforcement order, and we have a.
Amended order.
Amended meeting coming up on it.
No, was it something else? It was, one of the ones that's under the enforcement orders.
It was Brown, yeah.
Is it
was
nine,
the same
is it
project.
920 Johnson
920
Street?
Johnson Street.
We
Yeah,
said we-
we'll get to that.
Well, I thought we were gonna do that first, because we still have, they're still applying, right? For
Right,
something
but we
else.
got 292 Candlestick in front of them.
No, but we said that they're applying for something else, and we have to clear up the enforcement order
Right,
before we can act on the other one.
right.
All right, so what,
So you want to,
I want to do the
it
enforcement
out of
order.
order?
Yeah, take it out of order.
all right,
Do the enforcement order for 920
all
Johnson
right.
Street.
So we're
Got
going to,
it.
okay. All right, 920 Johnson. Okay, so the commissioner will recall that this property came before you under an RDA for an above-ground pool, but the plan and site observation showed violations in the 25-foot no disturb zone. The commission issued an enforcement order to have those things removed and then establish a 10-foot no-mow zone from the wetland to be delineated and monumented with 4x4 posts and wetland markers. And that was to be done by today. Our field inspector performed a site inspection. All 7 markers are in. There's just a couple that need just a couple of tweaks, but it's not a big deal. And so they've removed all the offending materials from the 25-foot no disturb zone. So they've complied with the enforcement order. So I would recommend lifting that, and then we could move forward with reviewing the new notice of intent for an in-ground pool.
Deal with the enforcement order now and
Yes.
deal with the order,
And the
NOI,
After.
you know, later in the agenda. Okay, I have no questions, Lou.
Thor with Williams and Sparagus is here. He probably doesn't have to talk either, so. So,
This is just specific to the enforcement.
just the enforcement order.
No questions.
No questions.
No question.
Okay, so we need a motion for the enforcement order.
Motion to lift it.
Did you, that we find that they're in compliance with the enforcement order and therefore close that action out?
Yep.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, and that's unanimous. Right. This is 920 Johnson Street, huh? So we didn't do what we were supposed to. I'm not gonna make him get up and sit down again.
All right, so we'll take up,
Gonna stay on it?
So we'll just stay on 920.
all right, so notice of intent for 920. All right. Johnson. All right, let me get up the plan here. All righty, so a new notice of intent for an in-ground pool, 18 by 36, with a surrounding paver patio, outside the 50-foot no-build zone. It's 53 feet from the BBW. There's a stockade fence that is currently in the backyard that will be moved towards the corner of the house, towards the front of the house. Let's see, temporary stockpile is shown on the plan, and construction access is shown as well. Pool equipment is proposed to be located on the landward side of the pool, and the wetland line was previously reviewed under the RDA. So,
Joe?
what's that?
Only a word of caution, is that is the 53-foot setback is compliant. 50-foot would be as well, so be very, very careful that if they have an extra half pallet of block, if they do decide to make it a little bit wider, no closer than 50. But otherwise, no other questions.
Al?
No waiver request at all, right?
No.
Okay, I'm all set.
Okay. Just to go with Joe, If you do change, you have to notify staff before you, just so you know. Try to make it wider. I would just leave it alone, but that's my opinion. Sean?
No questions?
Chap?
The raised bed garden will be removed?
Yeah, that's already been removed along with the wood platform.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. All set.
Okay. Any more questions?
Ken, is this eligible to close?
No, final number, right?
No, we do
Did we came in this week?
We do, yes.
All right, good.
Came in today.
1829 is the file number, right?
Yeah.
1829?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll move that we close and issue in 21 days.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. You're all set. Right, now we'll go back to the regular rotation.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, let me compliment how well the client reps are actually representing their clients. They're doing a great job tonight.
Joe, don't jinx them.
Yeah, don't jinx it, we're a long way to go.
When they bring in compliant plans, it's easy,
Yeah, it
right?
makes it easy when everybody plays in the same rules.
Alrighty, so back to 292 Candlestick.
Yes, 242, 1823, 292 Candlestick.
All right, plan up. Alrighty. So at the last meeting, the commission reviewed a revised plan that has a 12-foot diameter pool. The deck was removed from the 50-foot no disturb zone, no build zone, and voted to grant the waiver for the pool, which is 45.4 feet from the wetland. There's mitigation offered at 6.7 to 1. Commission asked that the 25-foot no disturb zone receive some sort of barrier. So they came back with this plan that has the dry laid fieldstone wall, a 2x2, along that line. The other change was a proposed generator at the easterly side of the house, outside of the 50. So that was all that the commission had requested. I don't know if you have any questions for Thor?
Joe?
You know, we had some discussion on the wooden deck up in the easterly corner, but I think we determined that that was pretty well established, and it was better than actually recreating out there on bare ground, that the wooden deck provided some sort of protection from that. So I don't think we ever did ask that anything be done with that, correct? I'm all set, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm satisfied with the fieldstone wall, and I have no questions.
John?
No questions?
Jack?
No questions.
Motion?
I move that we close and issue a decision within 21 days.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Next one, 242, 1828, 290 Webster Woods.
So this proposal is for lawn expansion at the rear of the property. Approximately 5,000 square feet of a wooded area will be expanded to lawn by removing and stumping and grubbing trees and importing loam for seeding. The majority of this work is outside the 100-foot buffer zone, but there's approximately 1,080 square feet of work in the buffer, well outside the 50. At its closest point, the work is 69 feet from the BVW. Let's see. Conservation Department staff reviewed the wetland line and agrees to the delineation. And it's you know, there's some minor grading that they're proposing within the existing lawn, probably to flatten out an area at the back. But, and no fencing is proposed. We inquired, they didn't plan on doing a fence, so that's, you know, the construction access is shown, stockpile is shown, erosion controls. It's kind of a straightforward project, but applicant and their representatives are here for your questions.
Joe, any questions?
More of a comment, question first and then a comment. So this is impervious forested land into impervious lawn area, correct?
Say that again?
Impervious forested area into impervious, pervious forested area into pervious lawn area.
Yes.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Yep.
The reason why I say that is Campbell Forest, they were threading the needle on their stormwater calculation.
Okay.
So there's a net impervious area issue out there. So long as we're not adding any impervious area, we don't have to look at the whole
Okay.
subdivision aggregate. So I have no other questions.
So let me just follow up then. So the tree removal, conversion of what is now forest to lawn. No plan to put on pavers, driveway, pavement, anything that would be impervious.
No, not as part of this application. no.
Just the, right, not as far as this app, so you understand that would require a follow-up application. And lastly, when the trees are dropped and/or removed, obviously, you're not, whoever you hire is not to drop them into the wetland and conduct activities there. All the activity has to stay outside the 50, okay? And if they have to bring in a boom and climb and take them down by piece, that's what they have to do, okay?
Understood.
All right, we got it?
Yep.
All right, good, thank you. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
John?
No questions?
Jack?
I'll just reinforce, all activity remains within the limit of work that you've defined. So, yeah, good to go. No more questions.
Motion?
I move that we close the issue in 21 days.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. All right, we did 920 Johnson. The next one is 242-1827.
So this is another one where we had an enforcement order that required filing of a notice of intent and restoration of the 25. So if the commission's comfortable with getting the restoration under order of conditions, I think the commission could vote to lift the enforcement order. Well, I mean, we need to maintain all of the erosion controls in place right now, so maybe not, I don't know.
Is there any reason why a restoration/replication area could not be a pre-construction condition?
No, there's no reason that can't be it.
So you're looking at rolling the enforcement, the final step of the enforcement action into the order of conditions for the NOI? I mean, it seems like they could be done in lockstep.
I can walk through the plan if you want, or if you feel you need to address the EO first.
Could I comment on one thing you said?
Yes, go ahead.
As far as it relates to the enforcement, I think maybe you were thinking the same thing that I was thinking, is that, you know, I know Tate wants to take care of the issues out here as soon as possible, and one of the obstacles is making sure this gets planted and stabilized before we get into cold weather. If we waited for an order of conditions and the appeal period to lapse, we'd likely be into early November. So handling at least the restoration work of the slope as soon as possible would help get it stabilized before winter. And I know Tate's eager to get it resolved as well.
I mean, doing the restoration under enforcement order is very expedient. And then, you know, permitting all the other amenities that he's looking for under the order.
So if we were to consider it under the NOI application to do the restoration as a pre-construction requirement, doesn't accomplish the same thing. That they do that first, get it done, yet issue the one document in which to get it done.
He doesn't want to wait for the order, though. He wants to get started like tomorrow. That's what I just heard.
Just the
As
restoration.
opposed to,
Just the restoration on the slope.
Right.
He wants to get the restoration done. He wants to get the grass growing now. He doesn't want to wait 3 weeks until there's frost in the ground. I understand the request.
Right.
so we're not, otherwise we're not prepared to close tonight anyway, regardless?
Well, we have a DEP file number. We could close. I don't have a decision ready.
Okay.
So the request.
So the EEO would allow that to get done?
Yeah.
Understood?
A jump start on the
Understood.
slope.
So the request is maybe cover the planting on the enforcement order, and then deal with the NOI as a separate issue.
Well, it's on the NOI plan, so we could restate it in the order of conditions, but it's already complied with.
We could still make it a pre-construction condition, but allow them to start on it with an EO.
Yeah.
And we'd have it covered
Perfect.
and allow them to take advantage of germination season, which is not much left.
This is about it.
Yeah, that's about it. I get it. I have no objection.
Yeah, I understand. That makes sense to me, too.
Well, I have a question. Usually, myself, when there's a violation, and people going into the 25 and going into wetlands, I usually consider a barrier. And this one, I would think would be a really good place to put a farmer's well at the top of the slope, and making that the 25. I know they have to go up some yard, but I think this is a perfect example of having a barrier with the posts and the signs. Because I'm not saying that this homeowner could violate, but later down the road, a person could violate. And we have an example pending in front of us, not too far down the distant future, that the homeowner, we were a little bit loose on what they got, and then they sold the house, and the new homeowner kind of ran roughshod.
Lou, I got a follow-up question, and it's one of ownership rights. So, and I agree with you, some sort of physical barrier, but some of the work that seems to have been disturbed and needs to be regraded is actually on an abutter's property, at least appears to be on an abutter's property. And, you know, do we know the abutter to be a party to whatever it is we're about to
Yeah.
act upon?
So we have a signature on the NOI for that.
So the abutter understands
Yes.
there's an encroachment there.
Yes.
So all the more reason for a physical barrier if they don't even understand where their property boundary is.
Right.
I completely agree with Lou that a physical barrier is, you know, essential.
So where would you propose it go to?
I would want the physical boundary barrier on this property only, but right along the 25.
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
like on the slope, though.
I mean-
That's not gonna work.
It's not gonna work?
The 25 is on the slope.
Where did you propose it?
I propose it at the top,
Top of the
so like
slope.
the elevations, I really having a hard time reading. it looks only a 2-foot difference, right?
It's probably academic, Lou, because reality is not gonna use the slope part of the yard anyway, so
Right.
top of the slope probably makes complete sense.
Am I seeing a stone wall there now, or is that a hay bale line?
There is a stone wall there now.
I'm looking at a stone wall. I'm looking at a stone wall from,
That they-
like, from Flag A2
Right,
all the way to,
right. And they thought
that's a big stone wall.
they thought that it was the property line.
Correct.
And the abutter thought so too, until a survey was done.
Yeah, but that wall's in the 25.
Yeah, but town.
But that's the abutter's wall. That wall's,
Not all of it.
well, look at, this is all
I
the
always
abutter's wall down here.
What's
see?
not clear to me,
See
but
the wall?
I'm gonna suspect that that is an old ancient farmer's
Wall
wall.
farms wall.
It's
Sure.
got nothing to do.
Yo,
with-
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's got nothing to do with an old order of conditions or
No,
boundaries or anything.
no,
just
it's an old farmer's
old-
wall.
old
That's
farm,
right,
yeah.
exactly.
Don't be confused by that wall.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It is a
Yeah.
barrier.
But it's just on the wrong property.
And, yeah, and some of it is on their property, but it's.
I mean, it's a great barrier, it's just on the wrong lot. So you're suggesting on their lot?
And along the property line.
Follow the line.
So we could condition markers, but if we want more than that, we'd have to,
No, if they
we'd
didn't-
have to propose a fence or a stone wall or something.
If they originally couldn't find their boundary and they thought the stone wall was it, they need something, they need a reminder up there somewhere.
Yeah.
Make sure I understand. You're talking about beginning at the property line along the top of the slope, extending along the top of the slope until it intersects with the
Existing wall,
exist,
between A4 and A5.
correct. That's what I see.
I'm hearing that too. I'm hearing it and seeing it. Is that what you're saying, Lou?
Intersects. What the hell are you talking
No,
No, what do you,
Okay,
yeah,
where-
what do
where
you
do you
mean?
want
well, like Joe said, they gone into the other people's property in the wetlands and in the 25.
So here's the boundary.
Right.
This line's the boundary.
So they've designated all this.
So we're not, we understand that's the
I know,
neighbor.
so we should make them put a wall, maybe from starting here,
Well, Joe was talking about right along this boundary, right along this
property
line,
line, okay.
all the way until it intersects right here. That's what Joe's saying.
Well,
Yeah, but now we're in the wetlands.
No, I'm seeking clarification.
No.
Is that what you're talking about, Ron?
We can put the scribbles?
Yeah. So,
Yeah, and
it's
then
so
right along, and then right along the
top of
property
the slope
line.
until it intersects with the line.
Yeah,
So up to, between that and the 50.
yeah,
Is that what you're talking about?
yeah,
So-
yeah, there.
You're not
And then
talking
along-
about
Yeah,
anything
and
else?
along
Pointer?
there, maybe just to the
Yeah,
deck.
we're gonna have to for that.
so I got my pointer here.
You know what, they're gonna have to come back to us with a proposal. We shouldn't be designing this wall. You're gonna have to come back to us with the wall
Under the
that we
NOI.
like, because we're not gonna sit here and design your wall for you.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to understand what exactly the commission's looking for. You're looking for a wall along the property line or along the 25?
No.
So what we were talking about is a physical barrier at the 25 would be typical. Most of that's on the abutter's property. We're saying that the steeper sloped land is no man's land to begin with. So we're saying from the property line, along the top of the slope,
Yeah.
up to where it intersects with the 50, put the wall in that area, because we're not making any use of that backyard anyway on the slope.
On the slope.
So that's what we're talking about.
I think that's
Yeah.
reasonable and makes sense, given the circumstances. I would ask the commission just to consider conservation posts. In this case, he is planning to plant this slope pretty heavily with native but landscape plants. It likely wouldn't, it would be overcome by the wall eventually, but it would be a little awkward to have the wall up here. So in this case, we would just ask that,
Well, I don't know what the hardship is with the wall we're proposing, because you're gonna reclaim to the original slope, the fill. So it's gonna be a slope, so you're not gonna use the land anyways.
So Lou, is it means of compromise? So since the top of the slope is upgrading from the 25, I think in this instance, a fence and posts and markers might be a compromise instead of a hard wall, so long as it's along the top of that slope. You know, if we were right at the 50, if we were at the 25, we would absolutely want a stone wall, but I think where we're further upgrading, that might make some sense in this circumstance. So from that line I just gestured along the top of slope, property line across to where it breaks at the 50, you know, a fence with markers might make some sense here.
Why don't you just put it on the 25?
Because it's on the
It's further
slope.
down slope, so we're really not gaining anything, and they're
Yeah.
not gaining anything.
25 is right
25
on the
is way down
slope.
there.
It's on the steep slope. There's, you don't want anything out down there.
So why is he up, why are you saying it's a hardship?
I'm not, I just don't want them to have to put a wall next to all their nice landscaping plants. If that's what the commission does want, that's fine, but they would just ask on the edge of the lawn where they're going to be planting this pretty heavily, that the commission consider something.
We're gonna need a new record drawing anyway, showing what you gotta do.
Okay.
Propose something.
So go back to the drawing board, come back with the proposal, with the drawing showing it, and we can get this thing in and out of here, okay? We can't spend the night
No, I understand.
thinking about it.
And,
That's fine.
like I said,
Sorry, that's just,
No,
I
that's all
agree,
right.
and I'm-
I-
but I'm gonna
that's what you guys pay me to do.
I'm gonna be really pushy with the wall, so, just to give you a heads up when you design it.
If I recall it, the purpose of the low, loose set stone wall was that it would be a physical barrier, a clear barrier that you're not to encroach within the 25 typically, but it would be low enough so that if there were any dumping of yard debris and things like that, it would be easily visible and it would be unattractive for the homeowner to have the pile of debris in their yard. So, the visibility is part of it. The communication of the barrier is part of it. So I think historically we've wanted to achieve those two things. So we'd ask you to consider what you might propose that would achieve those two things.
Understood.
Sure.
No questions?
Okay, so we're gonna motion to continue.
We'll-
What?
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute, Amy wants to speak.
All right, so whatever you do on the top of the slope, don't create more shade. Okay, because we have a really shaded bank slope that we need to get growing, and we can't be putting anything at the top that's gonna create more shade. So low profile is probably the way to go, or something that's just not gonna create
A
shade.
2-foot wall is not gonna.
Something, right, okay. So the second thing is the commission comfortable issuing an enforcement order, let him to get going on the slope, to restore it, get it seeded and planted and erosion control blanketed and all that under an enforcement order? Could we do that tonight to get them going? They can come back with a plan for the top of the slope for a wall or whatever and condition that as part of the ordered conditions.
They gotta do that work first anyways.
I think we heard that under the enforcement action,
Yeah,
to
they
allow them to, stabilize that slope and
Yeah,
get it
they have to do
growing.
that first anyways before they think about a wall. They gotta stabilize the slope
Right,
first.
right, right.
So I think the answer is yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yes.
All right. All right.
Technically is.
Thank you.
So we, as staff, we recommended, a native shade tolerant mix for the slope, maybe a sunnier mix for the very top of the slope. We were thinking of beefing up the plantings in the 25 or towards the bottom of the slope with more clethra, because that's a good suckering plant. So those are some of the things that we were suggesting.
So that would be what we would call a planting plan, right?
Yeah.
So you could give him,
Yeah.
and tell him what you want him to plant.
That
You're-
we-
you're in a position
We
where-
would just want more
Okay.
density,
Yeah.
yeah. Right. And then great care has to be taken around taking the fill away from the tree trunks that have been buried. So, spelling out that he's going to have an excavator doing, the large portions, but when it gets closer to the tree, it's going to have to be manual.
So is this, we're still on the enforcement order?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, because that's
Okay.
part of the restoration.
yep.
Yeah,
okay.
so, this is Taylor's bailiwick.
Yes.
So, encroaching in the root zone and overfilling above that could be catastrophic to a tree. So, in some instances, it might be welling of the trees or
Yeah.
substantial excavation back without disturbing the root zone. So, do you find the site condition here requiring a well, or Or
I think
just
if it's
carefully
just
dig it out?
carefully by hand around the tree in the drip zone,
So we're talking several inches, not several feet.
yeah, several inches
Okay, I'm fine.
deep. You know, it varies,
It varies, but, yeah.
but they're definitely buried, and it needs to be carefully uncovered by hand with shovels and.
Okay,
So
I'm
we
all
have-
set with that.
we have an outstanding enforcement order, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And like I said, this would have been, we should have did this one the same as we did. We can't issue an NOI with the outstanding enforcement order.
And we're not, right?
We're not.
And we're not, okay.
And there's changes
That's right.
anyway.
Yep.
All right. And just one more thing, natural heritage.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
We did talk to them. They had questions about the previously existing condition prior to the slope being filled and whether this would qualify as an exempted activity or not. We had argued that these, pretty much from the wall that was the property line up onto the slope, had been used by the prior owners, that there was some debris on the slopes. It was kept in generally poor condition. They had been utilizing it. So we asked that they consider it and classify it as a restoration of a landscaped area and lawn, and not the expansion of landscaped area or lawn within their jurisdiction.
So it's restoration of previously landscaped, or was it restoration of previous violation? Were
It's
they aware of that?
of the violation.
Yeah.
Yes, we sent them the full NOI package. So, and in our conversation with them, we explained what had happened. And that there was a slope here that was, where fill was placed along it. And as part of that the NOI process, we have to explain why we're either exempt from filing with MIPA, or you just file with MIPA and submit a filing fee, and then they review it as whether this would have an adverse impact on the species. So my
Did
glasses
they
are fogging
respond,
up.
notice of no take or?
They didn't, but typically on a project like this, where you have an exempt activity, they do issue some kind of response, whether they agree. But that might not come for 20 or 30 days often. They're not fast.
This work that we're about to direct under an enforcement order, if it's subject to natural heritage, what the hell gives us the right to order them to do that now?
Exactly.
We have to wait to, and
We have to wait.
natural
We can't do
heritage
anything.
comes back with an answer on that. Now, again, growing season aside.
They're gonna lose it, but I
They're gonna lose
understand, yeah.
well, in my opinion, it's restoring what was there. And there was junk that was thrown over by the previous owner that got buried with the fill that got pushed over. So,
I know, just
so it's
what do we do?
All right, so let's deal with,
restoring, but-
order of pecking, let's stabilize it first. And if natural heritage comes back with a take, then that'll reflect in the NOI, and they may
Yeah.
have to go back and
refine it.
refine that work in that area. But in the meantime, at least get it stabilized. Does that make sense?
Yeah, right, right. So the amended
But
enforcement
aren't
order,
aren't they in danger of losing what they've done, losing the rest of the growing season? If
That's
we-
what I'm saying.
Yes.
if
Let
we-
them go in and
Yes.
stabilize, do it now. Even if natural heritage come back and says, whoa, you need to do something differently, do that,
So we-
address that under the NOI. They may have to go back and rework that next season.
So we saying staff, our staff should tell them, as in recommendations here under that bullet, recommend what the shade mix and plantings and things should be, tell them what to do, and do it, they're doing it at their peril.
But I would be very clear in the enforcement order that we do that because of the timing of the growing season, and that they're doing it at peril with the risk that ultimately natural heritage might direct otherwise.
I get it, but this is where we put ourselves in the box, because we're directing them to do something. The Natural Heritage could come in and say, I want it changed, and then they're gonna turn around and say to us, but that's what you told us to do.
Which is what I'm trying to be careful of.
I don't like
Whether
that
we can be
I don't
careful,
like the
I don't
position
know.
we're in here
What
at
I'm
all.
trying to be careful of is, say, because of the growing season, the applicant has requested to do this, and we don't disagree. However, you're doing this at your own peril, in that if natural heritage directs a course of action beyond this, you deal with that under a separate order.
I wanna go to council. Council?
So, what, Where do we fit with National Heritage? Do we need something from National Heritage to even go forward in any respect? If something's been placed in front of National Heritage, do you have to wait for their response before we not only allow them to do something, but as it's been phrased, require them under enforcement to do something?
Absolutely, we would.
I mean, you can't enforce them to do something you won't allow them to do, I would think.
That's my concern. My concern is we say, put the following mix on, this is what you have to do. We're directing you to do it under the enforcement order, it's an EO, you will do it. And then Natural says, you kidding me, get it out of there. And then they look at us and say, hey guys, you told us to put it there.
But once it goes in front of National Heritage, does that put like a pause on, if it puts pause on an NOI, then it must put pause on.
It does.
Put the pause on everything.
Yeah.
So,
It's on- it's on
knowing that,
pause, right?
they are likely to lose this growing season and get into next spring. That's the outcome. So, yeah. So their ambition may be appropriate, we just simply can't, I don't think we can accommodate it
I
without
just,
getting on that slippery slope.
my goal is to keep the commission out of it in terms of any type of disagreement, legal or otherwise, that may take place.
I'm certainly don't want to do something that we don't think we can do. You know, that's not
Well,
a
that's
good
what
decision.
We're not supposed to.
Yeah, then we don't do it, right? If it's
I think
against the
we
rules,
can,
you don't do
I
it.
think we can draft an enforcement order, but not authorize it until Amy's able to make contact with Natural Heritage
So we could draft an enforcement order that allows them to do the work,
and stay the execution.
subsequent to
Subject to-
issuance of a
Subject to approval.
By
notice of
Natural-
no
By
take by
Natural
Natural Heritage. And don't let the season dictate us. That will be if the season comes down that you can't do it, it's too late because they didn't issue their decisions in November, well, so be it.
I mean, that's, I feel more comfortable with that, and I think we're also not putting the applicant in peril of having to do the same job 3 times.
Right.
So, we can't, I just
So let me ask you
don't.
this, leaving it unstable, is there any further risk to the resource area? I mean, it's a steep slope.
There's no active erosion right now.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's right up, A5 is right on the
I mean, it's,
the,
yeah, it's right up against, but there's that stone wall, and it's not like,
Yeah,
the
true,
soils aren't
true.
erosive.
You don't have any soil migration taking place? No?
In our
No, we have
enforcement
erosion
order
controls
has already
in
gone,
place.
so it's not so much stabilized, but to prevent erosion control, we've ordered, things that tow us
Right,
slope.
right,
So
yes,
we're protected from that
Yes.
perspective.
yes,
I think we're okay.
So, I would
okay.
move,
So make
I
this-
would move that you draft an enforcement order
Yes,
and stay the execution
yes,
of the enforcement order pending release by Natural Heritage.
okay,
And that would be my motion.
okay.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And-
Nay.
I just want to make sure that the EO requires erosion control blanketing as part of.
You write it, you draft the
Yeah.
enforcement
Okay.
order. You're drafting it, you put everything
I
you
mean,
want on
I
it.
have it in my
We're
recommendations
not,
already.
we're not gonna authorize it tonight.
Okay.
So you can put your whole shopping
Okay, I
list on it,
gotcha.
all right?
All right.
And then
Yeah.
when the time comes to authorize it, we'll all read it
All right,
and
How
I'll
long
see.
does is the natural heritage process going to take? Estimating.
So they used to be 3, 4, 5 weeks. They are running 2, 3 months.
Never mind. Okay. So not between now and the next meeting, in other words.
Yeah, honestly, you just never know, Sean. You really never know. And, so that's the enforcement order. What do we need to do with regard to, the filing that's in front of us?
Continue.
Just continue?
Just continue, because we can't do anything until we get.
I think you need to request a continuance, sir. Thank you. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's it.
Thank you.
all right.
Thank you.
Next one is an RDA 19 Commonwealth Ave.
19 Commonwealth Ave. I'm looking for it. Here it is. I got it, I found it. I'm disorganized.
All right, so this is, Commissioner will recall issuing a small project permit for a deck off the back of the house that did not trigger the 300 square foot threshold. After we issued the permit for that deck, the applicant decided they wanted a larger deck, so unfortunately, it kicked them into the RDA process. So the new deck is 336 square feet with stairs at 3 feet 2 inches by 6 feet. The deck will be supported by a combination of 9 12-inch wide, 4-foot deep footings attached to the corner of the house with lag bolts. Proposed work is located within the 200-foot riverfront area to the Shawshene River. And our field inspector confirms that the work is located 126 feet from fringe BBW to the Shawshene. So it's just same basic project, just a little bit larger. So I'd recommend closing the hearing and issuing a -3 and a -2 determination with conditions. The applicant's contractor's here if you have any questions for him.
No questions.
No questions, sir?
No questions, thank you for coming back in front of us, though, I appreciate it.
Oh, sure. Yes, absolutely.
Is there a property line portion of this?
So, the plans that we have are in fact a survey that shows property line. It's not stamped, but we're gonna assume it's reasonably accurate.
Okay.
We don't deal with property lines, we deal with setbacks from wetland resource areas.
Sure.
So that's really our
I'm your
purview.
wetland person, I'm the
Okay,
butter of the
so
wetland.
good.
Yeah.
So that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
If there's a question relative to setback to a sideline, or whether it complies with sidelines, or
Oh, it's
requires
to
a
the
variance or not, that's actually a
No, I
building.
just, if there, like, it's to the right, right? You're good. Thank you.
You're to the right?
I'm that way.
Oh, you're to the left?
I'm the Shawshene butter.
Okay, good.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Good,
they're on
good.
opposite side, that's all I wanted to see.
I do have a comment.
Okay.
I took a brief look through the documentation, and it doesn't look like the setback from the Shawshene River or the closest wetland is documented anywhere. Is it?
We had it on the previous filing. I guess we didn't carry it over.
It should be specified as part of the
Yep.
RDA.
So we can get it on the plan.
So the,
We can get it on the plan, on
prior-
this,
I mean,
on
we
this
could-
the
plan.
prior application was a small project, right?
Yes, it was.
Which was hand sketched, not a survey.
We did have actually plans like this,
What?
but we had an aerial overview with our measurement on it.
So to Jack's point, I happen to agree that we actually making
Yeah.
a determination of whether it applies or not.
Yeah,
And the reality is you need to know what the resource area is and where it is.
yeah.
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 But Taylor verified it. I think it's a matter of just including that.
Showing it on the plan.
That setback somehow, whether it be on the RDA document or on, I don't know.
Aerial
On the
photo,
aerial photo?
would an aerial photo suffice, or would that just not be accurate enough for setback purposes?
As long as we specify that it was verified in the field, I think that's the important thing. It's just,
Yep.
our setbacks are extremely important in every one of these, and so it seemed like it was missing from this.
Agreed.
Okay, so,
Yeah,
So
so
do we-
you're right. It's just that the measurement really didn't change much from the from the small project plan to the
Right.
RDA plan, but you're right. It
But-
should be
but
within the RDA
we're
application.
taking this RDA as
Yeah.
a standalone project,
Right.
so we should
Yep,
be complete.
okay, all right.
So the direction would be simply update the plan showing the resource area and the setbacks. And otherwise, it's, barring surprises, it's an approval project.
Yeah. I mean, these are conceptual, so I mean, for this project and that setback, a conceptual drawing, I think would be fine. Especially since it's been verified by staff.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It has to be on the record.
And what was the distance to the wetland? 26 feet?
126.
126.
126, yeah.
That's-
So,
Remember, riverfront's a 200-foot buffer zone,
Right.
not simply the 100.
Right, but we
so
do have a wetland there as well, right?
We do.
it's fringe BBW,
Okay.
so it's, not like it's, but that's the closest wetland, that's what we took it from.
So if we're giving the applicant direction, we're gonna continue, likely, and that simply that information needs to somehow find its way onto this plan.
Okay,
And we're ready to close at the next meeting, correct?
if that,
That's
yeah,
what- that's what-
I mean,
that's what I'm-
if the aerial information from the previous,
Whatever we use,
Application.
Amy, whatever we use
Yep.
has to be capable of being considered a record drawing.
right. Okay.
Because that's the standard we hold everybody to.
Mhm.
And that is the bottom line.
Right.
And is an aerial a record drawing?
If it's to scale.
Yeah.
If it's to scale, because if it's a to scale aerial, certainly.
I know, I'm trying to look for it, that's what I'm saying.
I just pulled it up.
Oh, I just forget what,
Go to the last, I just went
is
through
it the
email.
920? Oh,
It was,
it should be in our last grouping of, was it? It was, okay. Hold on, just bear with me just one sec. So it would be the 9/8? Hold on. Here we go. All right, hold on. So this is what we had for the, small
there you go.
project permit,
deck.
and the
This
deck
one,
isn't,
so it has-
so that's that, but if that's not,
So the resource area is bank, you have break-in topography, and really no BVW to the bank, correct? It looks like it's all just scrub.
Looks like it's bad.
It was on the bank, there was some
yeah,
vegetation, but it was
sparse.
definitely a
It
bank.
wasn't like a flat meandering BVW,
No.
it was,
Definitely slope.
Slope.
Yeah,
You sure of the bank, it's not a backwater?
yeah,
what's that?
it's not a backwater.
No, it's a bank, oh, yeah.
It's, yeah.
Bank in
It's a bank.
a river like the
Drops
Shawshene,
off.
there's a lot of backwater that is confused as bank.
Yeah,
It's a characteristic of that river that can make a difference of as much as 100 feet.
mhm.
So that's
But
the
it
only
was a
thing,
clear
that would
break
be,
and
that would be your call?
Yeah, no, there was definitely a clear.
You clear
Clear
bank.
break and
break and
yeah.
slope,
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, but the thing is, that was for the small
Small
project.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it looks like, using this as a basis, the proposal now is to extend the deck a little further. Well, it's- Yeah, but as I'm looking at it, it's beyond the center line of the roof, and I'm looking at the ridge line, so
Yeah.
it's probably, so maybe it's about where that closest line is, use an orientation called southwest, if you will.
mhm.
But it's also gonna get a little further back and a little further to the right. So it's not necessarily, it may be getting a foot or two closer to the bank, but not a lot closer. In an area that's already improved with, lawns and driveway and an abutting property, by the way, next to it, so. Okay, I think if that information were put on the record drawing, I think we're gonna be satisfied.
I would be satisfied with that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we need a motion to continue.
So the question is, do we have to continue if we have that data?
Oh, we can do it, we can.
Can that data be annexed to his application so that we can
Yeah,
close it and not make
we
him come
can.
back?
I think so.
As long as that information that we're looking at can be annexed to the application, I have no objection.
Yep. And we
Neither do I.
can.
And Joe doesn't have an
Neither do
objection.
I don't either.
Okay.
I think it works.
Get the motion there.
All right, so my motion would be to issue a negative number 3 and number 2 with the following condition, that the aerial photo displayed on the graphic be annexed and part of the record drawing.
Second?
She had more conditions than that.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Just
Go
a
ahead.
pre-construction meeting with the Conservation Department. All excavated soils be, from the post holes be taken off-site, and then a post-construction to verify compliance.
As amended.
As amended. Second.
Good.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
You all set?
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Max.
All right, next one,
Whatever.
Anrad, 242-24, request to continue to October 27th.
So move. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Now, going for modifications, there's one here.
Want to take the continuance first? Get it out of the way?
All right, what are we
Yeah,
doing? Where are we at?
242-1770, 456 Summer Street, request to continue until October 27th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Next one, 242-1821, 217 Gray Street.
All righty. Stand up. All right.
I don't know, guys.
All right, so the commission will recall issuing an order for work at the rear of the house that included, doing an addition, deck and stairs, hot tub and patio. And originally, there was going to be a new garage, which needed ZBA approval, so they decided to take it off that plan, go forward with the rear house work, go through the ZBA process, and come back to us with a modification for the new garage. So we have a 28 by 23 garage in the outside of the 50-foot no-build zone, and sort of what we expected to see from the last time. So it's just having a new record plan with the garage on as an allowable activity.
I have no questions. This is what they were proposing, they just didn't have the ZBA approval at the time, right?
Exactly.
I'm all set, thank
Yep.
you.
No questions?
Is erosion control adequate?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's in, and,
I see it.
It will-
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it's, yeah, okay.
yeah.
Although it's inside the 25 for some reason.
No, it's outside the 50.
Roads controls are the solid line with the bullets,
This?
the dots?
Oh, got it, okay. Yeah, never mind. Read it wrong.
That's all right. Wrong dotted line.
Yeah, looks good to me.
I move that we approve the modification as presented to allow
Second.
construction of the garage.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys. Thank
Thanks.
you.
I was looking at the plan, I saw it was 23 feet, and I couldn't figure out why you're making it 22 feet. And that was the zoning.
Setback, it was a concession.
Yeah, because that's an unusual measure.
Yep.
I'm glad it worked out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No waiting on this, right?
No, no. I mean, I'll have a permit
There's an
modification,
appeal period, right? Or
not
is it-
for modifications.
Non-modification, there is no appeal period, you're all
Yeah,
set. Yep,
but
yep.
you'll receive, the permit that allows for it, so, but there's no waiting appeal period.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. 242-1754, 326 Campbell Road.
Okay. All right, so the commission will recall an order issued in June of 2019 that governed raising an existing dwelling and shed and construction of a new single-family house, driveway, deck, septic system, and associated utilities. Portions of which were in the 100-foot buffer zone to BBW and a suspected ephemeral pool. We didn't have evidence, but it was shown as a potential vernal pool on natural heritage, so we just operated as if it was. So things were outside of the 75-foot no-build zone. Just after the house was built, a 12 by 12 patio was constructed off the back of the house that encroached into the 75-foot no-build zone. So this created a conundrum for the new homeowner, and my recommendation was that they actually investigate the water body for vernal pool function, because that really was a linchpin. So they engaged Bill Manuel with Wetlands and Land Management, who is a third-party wetland consultant, not involved with the project at all. Went out, he provided his report, he did a thorough analysis, he saw fish. So we have reproducing fish populations, we have a pond that's over 60,000 square feet in size, where a pond is usually 10,000 square feet is the minimum. There is an outflowing connection to a tributary to Boston Brook. And so I'm comfortable that Bill had done his due diligence to establish the fact that it's not a vernal pool. So therefore, we have the 75 no-build goes away, it turns into a 50-foot no-build. The patio respects that. And so I consulted with the chair and the vice chair, and they said have them come back for after-fact modifications. So that's what we're doing here now.
None, very logical.
I have no questions, and I want to make sure that the evaluation of the pond is part of the record, part of the decision. Because it's a very extensive evaluation. It covers all the areas that I would look for and you would look for.
Yep.
And I'm happy to see it, and I have no questions.
Jack,
No questions for me either. Thank you.
motion?
What are we looking for here?
Move that we,
Modification.
Approval
move
of
that we
the
approve the
after-fact.
modification for 242-1754 Campbell Road.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, that's unanimous.
One abstention.
One abstention.
One abstention.
So this is also before us for a request for a certificate of compliance. If you want to take it up right now and just,
Yeah, what is it?
so it's, everything's completed with this project, and we have an as-built plan. This is the as-built plan. It was just the patio that was the outstanding non-compliant issue. Otherwise, the site's stable, and, you know, it's in
So
compliance.
the modification was as of the fact the work has been complete, everything's
Exactly.
stable.
Yep.
Therefore, it's now eligible for certificate.
Yep.
Move that we grant a certificate of compliance for 242-1754.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, next one. 242-17, that's right, continue. 242-1819, 255 Stevens Street.
Alrighty. Yeah, you can come on up. All right, so the commission will recall permitting an in-ground pool that had a different orientation than what we're seeing. Then they came back for rotating the pool that moved it further away from the 50-foot no-build zone. So in the interim, they realized they needed to retain that cut slope with the retaining wall and create a swale in between the pool patio and the retaining wall. So this is what we're looking at here. And this is all out of the 50. We do have a cross-section of the typical block retaining wall that they're proposing to build. And let's see. And so the swale will help direct drainage away from the patio, or direct it through it so that it's not, you know, spilling onto the pool or patio. Let's see. That's it in a nutshell. We have the wetland scientist here this evening if you have any questions for him. So this is a modification request.
So the first order of conditions of the NOI, which resulted in the order of conditions, had the pool in position A. Modification 1 pushed it a little further away. Modification 2 pushes it even further away.
Not further away, it's just that the new location
Oh, we did that one.
made it clear that we needed to, the slope cut needed retaining.
Okay, so with that slope cut in the retaining wall, that's still way outside the 50, correct?
Yes, yes,
No questions.
yep.
No?
Questions, sir?
No questions?
No questions?
Are they showing erosion control on here? Proposed siltation control there,
Yeah.
okay. Do they have enough room?
Yes, they do. They have plenty of room.
Yeah.
We've done a pre-construction, so
Got it.
it's in and the contractor was there and,
Okay,
yeah, so
No
we're
question.
good with that.
thank you.
Motion to approve the modification as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Matt.
Uh, Next one, COCs, a couple continuances. These are both, 242, 1739, partial COC Ray Street subdivision. Request to continue till October 27th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. 242, 1755 Ray Street, lots 4 through 7. Request to continue till October 27th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Amy, how long have these been on?
Oh, a couple meetings worth.
Huh?
A couple meetings worth, but he said he's got revised plans in hand and information that he's gonna submit
Okay.
tomorrow.
Okay.
He's just a busy guy, I guess.
You just don't want to have it lingering.
No, yeah.
Okay, next one is 242, oh, we did that one. 242, 1060, 211 Boxer Street.
Okay.
How you doing?
Good.
Alrighty, so the order issued in April of 2001 governed the construction of an in-ground pool, patio, jacuzzi, shed, relocation of a septic tank, associated grading and landscaping within the 100-foot buffer zone, but outside the 50-foot no-build. An as-built plan and certification letter and request for COC was submitted in 2003, but for some reason was never brought forward to the commission. A homeowner called me during the winter last year, realizing that he never received his certificate of compliance where he thought he was getting one. So I had talked to the chair and the vice chair. They just advised to do a site visit during the summer, make sure things are stable and in compliance with the as-built plan. I did that in July, and the site is substantially in compliance and very well stabilized at this point. So I'd recommend issuing a full and complete certificate.
Not right now, come back to me in a second.
Al?
I have no questions.
No questions?
Jack?
Does, do we need documentation that it is in substantial compliance?
We have the previous COC request materials from the engineer with
From
certification.
2003?
Yes.
Okay, which
Yep.
is O'Neill. Okay.
Yep. And as far as I could tell, nothing has changed. So,
Okay. You're satisfied it's within
yeah,
compliance?
yep.
Okay, no more questions.
Just waiting on Joe.
I'm all set. Thank you.
Motion?
Move that we issue the certificate of compliance for 242, 1060, 211 Boxford Street.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. You're all set.
So I'll send that to you. It needs to get recorded at the registry, and then we can refund the bond after that. Okay, thanks. Yep.
All right, next one, small project. NACC 287, 465 Ray Street.
Okay. Hi. All right. So this lot is one of the lots in the subdivision, the Ray Street subdivision. The new homeowner would like to,
On
Oh,
the
go
last
ahead.
application, O'Neill Associates stamped this plan, was submitted to us as an as-built plan, and I happen to know that Mr. O'Neill's no longer alive. I've just checked the Board of Registration, and Mr. O'Neill's license has expired for several years. So the as-built plan is fraudulent. So I move that we rescind
fraudulent.
the order of conditions.
I'm gonna second his motion.
When did it expire?
License expired June 30th, 2020.
It's- the stamp.
Michael G. O'Neill.
Michael G. O'Neill, 2791,
I know he's dead.
registered professional engineer, stamp for deceased
So-
engineer. That's fraud.
What's the date of the plan?
Fraud. It's not a new, it's the same as-built that he stamped in 2003.
So he was alive and registered in
Yeah.
2003.
Yeah,
So why is this is certificate of compliance now?
it was received by the office and never brought to you, and the homeowner thought that.
So the time it was submitted, just not brought to us, he was alive, he
Right.
was valid until 20.
But hold on, so it was duly filed
Yeah,
to our office?
yeah,
And then someone in the office
It
failed
was
to...
valid at the time, it was valid at the time.
Yep.
I rescind
Okay.
my motion.
You rescind your rescission?
God rest his soul.
I
okay.
I have a request, I'm not satisfied here at all. So,
Well, if I understand it right, you just told me a second ago that we got this plan in 2003, we didn't file it. Guy was alive in 2003, he
no,
stamped it.
I'm talking about who worked for us in 2003. I'm tired of playing this game with documents that got lost. Who was working for us in
I
2003?
told you.
Tell me again.
Alice.
Allison McKay. Let me tell you something, right? She's still out there, working.
None of this profession.
I
I don't know why it
Be
never
careful.
don't have to
got
be
onto an
careful. I don't
agenda,
have to be
I
careful.
don't know.
As long as I'm not telling a lie, there's no problem.
Yeah, I want to be clear, because I made a heck of an accusation a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
The reality is, we received the plan
Yeah,
with the date stamped.
Yes.
And dated, that was valid at the time, 2003.
yep,
He deceased and his license expired in 2020, so we're hearing it in 2021, but it's still valid in 2003.
right,
Okay.
The plan hasn't changed,
Right.
there's been no other work.
right,
The plan, they're just simply, and after the fact,
Exactly.
very late certificate of compliance.
yes.
I think I'm
So
satisfied with that.
there has to be something attached to this in the file.
Okay,
Yes.
There has to be a,
Asterisk of some sort.
some type of a
Sure.
notation or a secondary document
yep,
attached to it in the file, which I'll call you tomorrow, and we'll decide how to
Yeah.
word it.
Okay.
I'm not satisfied with this stuff anymore. I'm satisfied with this.
yeah,
I'm not satisfied with
With how it happened.
With how it happened.
okay.
And I'm not gonna take the chance that could,
I mean, I did place a memo to the file after I consulted with you and you said, go out in the summer.
right.
Um,
I get it. I
but-
guess it
Okay.
didn't, I didn't grasp.
The letter from O'Neill is stamped received by Conservation and initialed by D.W. Donna Wedge.
That only proves the point.
So
Yeah.
I don't
No, just in case you missed it.
We're gonna add,
Okay, notation to the,
we're gonna add
okay,
documentation to the
Okay.
file
Another
tomorrow.
one to the list.
all right,
All right.
Jack,
Okay.
Jack, it was a team effort.
I know.
okay,
All right,
all right.
we'll talk
Let's
then.
move on, right?
Yeah,
let that
we're
one
ready,
roll.
I'm ready to move on.
Okay.
I'm sorry I brought it up.
Whew.
You're very
Got a
heated
little
there, Joe,
nervous
that's
there.
for sure.
Alrighty, so, 465 Ray Street. So this is one of the lots in the subdivision. The new homeowner would like to rehab the lawn as, the existing soils aren't the greatest. I mean, we do have grass growth and it's stable, but it's just not as lush as they'd like it to be, so they'd like to import, you know, good quality loam and reseed. And they'd like to build a walkway from the back, from the end of their driveway to the rear deck. The walkway is going to be 136 square feet, 4 by 36. And they're coming in as, and that's well out of the 50-foot no-build zone, and the lawn rehab is entirely within the footprint of existing developed lawn. So they're coming.
And there's a physical barrier.
And there's a physical barrier, yes, we have that stone wall. So they're coming in under category L. So I would recommend issuing or approving the project as a category L, requiring maintaining the existing erosion controls until the newly rehabbed lawn is fully vegetated. And the erosion controls are still in there per my direction. And post-construction meeting to ensure compliance and approve removal of erosion controls once the lawn is fully vegetated.
Joe?
No questions.
Al?
No questions also.
Sean?
What's L again? Is that
L
the
is
catch-all?
other.
Yeah?
Yes.
Why isn't this a separate one? Why doesn't this qualify as one of the others? I mean, we have pruning in there, we have,
Well, it's
Patios.
landscaping and a walkway. If it was one or the other, it would be a category, so this is a combination, correct?
thanks, I didn't have the
That's
checklist
right
in here.
there. Yeah, there it is.
Let's look at it for a second. Unpaved pedestrian
Patios.
walkways less than 4 feet for private use on public. And this is patio block you're putting in, right? Are you putting patio block?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, not paving it, right?
No.
No, yeah. So- Okay, I have no other questions.
That's
Yeah.
I just couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I just,
Yeah, that's why we have other, I'm
Yeah.
all set.
Set? Motion?
I move that we accept it as an L with the conditions stated by Amy. Did you state any conditions, Amy?
Second.
You did state conditions?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
All righty.
Okay, next
So
one.
you have your approval, I'll get you your permit out in the next few days, and then it would just be a matter of keeping those erosion controls in and calling us when you're completed. I'll make sure you have the paper in hand.
Okay.
I'll get it out in short order.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Sean, I'm sorry I wasn't as exciting as the last one.
We have our moments, I guess.
Next one is, small project, 288, 160 Bridle Path.
Oh, Frank George, look at that. The ghosts never go away.
All right. So this is coming in under category B, in-kind replacement of lawfully existing decks regardless of
Yeah,
size.
That's an older one.
So we have a wetland at the front of the house, and the deck is at the back. It's a 32 by 12 deck with 45-degree corners. Helical piles will be proposed if the deck is accessible to the helical machine. Otherwise, it'll be 12-inch sonotubes at 48-inch depth. Deck is located on the opposite side of the house, so it's well protected. The house is protecting the wetland basically from any work. Our field inspector visited the site and confirmed that the deck is approximately 70 feet from the BVW. So I recommend approving it as a category B with conditions that require a pre-construction meeting with the Conservation Department, all excavated soils from post holes being taken off site or outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, because they do have a big lawn in the back that's out of the buffer, and post-construction inspection to verify compliance.
approve as a B with the conditions set forth by Amy.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. That's it for small projects. Next one is 40 Flagship Drive enforcement order.
So I know that Mr. Linsky is planning on being here. He was shooting for 8:30. I can give you an update, or if you want to wait for him, we can do other things, or,
Let's table that. Give him a chance to get
okay,
it in.
all right, okay.
All right, next one is 60 Campbell Road. We did that, right?
We did that, right.
Okay. 64 Nutmeg Lane.
Okay, so I found the as-built plan for this lot in that subdivision. And the subdivision does have a full, complete certificate of compliance. I shared that with the homeowner, cautioned him that the line is old, still needs to get delineated, and they have secured services of a wetland consultant, and they're moving forward with the new delineation. So that's really what the commission asked for last time. We really need to know where the edge of wetland is compared to what work has been done and what work they want to do to determine what type of application is appropriate for it.
Yeah, good job.
So basically, so,
The only thing we have to, same thing. This has an existing enforcement order.
right,
So before they apply for an NOI,
right,
they gotta clean up their enforcement order, which has conditions
right,
that they haven't addressed yet.
right.
So what they wanted to do, they wanted to grade and reseed.
Yes.
Under the presumption that what was previously allowed.
Right,
So the certificate of compliance showed what was in fact allowed and approved at the time, and that's it. And
Right.
if they're looking to do anything beyond that, under the enforcement order,
Right.
it's simply not allowed because it's an extension of what was previously allowed.
right,
So that aside, the wetland line does move, so you have to, now there's a new issue, new timing.
Right.
You have to get the new line,
right.
and the work is going to be in context to, with where that line
new
is today.
Right,
So simply asking, can we bring more lumen and seed it, because that's where it used to be? That was an easy out.
right, right. And some of the cutting did happen within the 25.
Yeah, so-
Not all of it, but it,
It's a lot that
Well,
So-
I got a scary memory.
We
That's
still
what I
don't know
thought,
where the
too.
line is.
right,
And I requested a stone wall. They don't want to do
They
We'll
still
see
don't know
where
the
that
line
goes.
is.
We'll
We
see where that
still
it.
goes.
I know.
Still don't know the
See
line is.
what- Yeah, exactly. Where's the line first, and let's see what it's about.
right.
Is an NOI a requirement of the enforcement order? No, okay, we're not,
Not right now.
not to that point.
Right, yeah.
The only thing that I think that they required was to get it delineated,
Cancellation.
and then come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take no action?
Recommend,
Just
the
continue.
recommendation says to continue, so moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, general business.
Oh, did you continue the 1210 Osgood?
Oh, no, I didn't do it in an open meeting, no.
Oh, yeah, I did
242-1692, requested continue to October 19th. That's that special meeting you
Right.
guys
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Special meeting next week.
Yep.
Yep.
Second.
Good
All
catch.
those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That's unanimous. Sorry about that. Watershed update.
So the town has gone through a watershed update process. They engaged Weston and Sampson as their consultant. So we have a draft plan that's been kicked around quite a bit with a couple of public meetings and a steering committee. We're going to have one more final public meeting on the 20th, which you're welcome to. It's going to be a Zoom meeting. But basically, the major findings, I kind of listed out in the recommendations. I don't know if you want me to walk through them or,
We've got time.
Yeah.
Till Bill gets here.
yeah.
How long are we gonna give?
Bill's ETA was 8:30?
Do we need to wait for him? Is there
Well,
anything substantive that he needs to
I
be
have,
here
They have requested.
he requested last time permission to do foundation only for the building up top, but you guys put the brakes on that and said, not until we get, more progress with the basin, which He has made great progress. My subsequent question to him was, when is Meridian going to get out to do the survey to make sure basin bottom is correct, all that? He hasn't really responded to that question yet, but,
So that's kind of stuff we can find out tonight.
so, I mean, it's mucked out. The, control structure is in, but it's not live, it's not online, but,
So we need Meridian to determine bottom of basin is at the correct elevation, storage volume is what it was intended to be.
Right.
The outlet control
Is where it should be.
orifices at the correct
Right.
elevation, the right size.
Yeah.
So it will function as intended.
right.
So until we have all that, he's made great effort, but we just simply don't know whether it's at the right elevation.
Right.
Whether it's correct or not.
Right, right. Hopefully it is.
I'm not sure we need to wait for him. We need that information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My concern is, they want to apply for an NOI. They have an outstanding enforcement order. The top of this site is still a mess. I don't know, I'd like to know what they were gonna do before they start.
I guess we should give them a few minutes then so we can ask the
You know,
questions.
not trying to penalize it, but I never saw that we allowed building frame foundations to be built, and we have no idea what the stormwater management plan, we've got they got approval from, planning, but I won't go there.
Well, they have a SWIP. They have a SWIP. We have a copy of it.
So I talked to Maureen at Norse. They're gearing up to submit that notice of intent for the November meeting. They're not going to make it for tomorrow's deadline for the 27th, but they'll be in for the November meeting.
So he did in November, assuming everything's perfect. He's 3 weeks from that meeting before he gets an order of conditions. So he's into December. What he's looking to do is break ground now, get that foundation and get the building going. Meridian should have their information here tonight. We'd be able, they better deal with that question.
I'm just not comfortable with letting people start doing excavation work. We have no stormwater plan in place. We have no conditions in place. We have no bond in place.
So the foundation work.
And it's already failed.
And it's already failed. You know, I mean, when somebody trips up, they have legitimate reason, okay. But when they that was just clear and flagrant, the worst construction site I've ever been around.
So we should
He'll
have a little discussion.
he'll be here in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
So let's talk about
Yeah, is there anything else we can do?
let's talk about the watershed,
Watershed.
and then when he gets here,
And we got the
we
calendar.
can switch gears. The calendar's the calendar.
Let's move the calendar.
Yeah, we can just change that.
Louis is gone for a month and a half. I'm gone for
I'm gone for 2 months.
2 months.
2 months
What?
this year.
So what? Yeah.
February and March.
For
Good for
end of
you.
Thank you.
End of
Naples,
February.
is that what I heard or something like
First
that?
week in March,
You
I'm
going to
gone.
Naples,
2
is
weeks.
that what I heard?
No, I'm gonna go to Inglewood this time.
It's close to that?
I'm getting a text from an important person.
I couldn't get any
It's
place.
Kathy? It's Kathy?
Gee, I wonder who that is.
No, negative.
I was just trying to help you out.
No, you know where it is?
Yeah.
All right, so,
What's
Oh,
our
oh, do I
ETA?
know
What's
who
our
it
ETA?
Well, you asked the chairman.
If he says he's gonna be here at 8:30, he's not.
20 minutes.
8:46. It's the ETA.
No, it's gonna be in 5 minutes, right?
Well, he said he's en route.
But we all know what
He's-
5 minutes means when you're
He's
running
in route,
late.
everybody's
He's
in route.
15 minutes away.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
You said 5 minutes. You were here in 2.
I used to,
I didn't say 5 minutes, I said en route to town hall.
We were told 5.
Oh, well, see, somebody misread.
But you
the
look
email.
good.
I was.
So, let's map out, I mean, if we know in terms of who's gonna be here. So, Lou, you're gone February and March
Yes.
for the entire month, okay.
And I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna be out of the country in February 23rd meeting.
I'll be out the 23rd
So,
So we're
of
screwed.
February.
Yeah.
That's a meeting date? 23rd?
Yep.
I will not be here on the 23rd.
I don't even know where I'm gonna be
in
tomorrow.
Belize.
Less than February
I know.
23rd.
I'll be here on the 9th, but not the 23rd.
I know.
When you have stuff planned out that far ahead, you're just showing your age, gentlemen.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
There you go.
It's a,
Is the second, the first meeting in March, the 9th?
This month and this month.
Yes.
I won't be here the March 9th either.
and Lou won't be here March.
Coming back the 10th.
Oh,
The
okay.
cruise? Good for you.
And what did you say? What did you say?
23rd, I'm
Okay,
pretty positive I'm gonna be gone.
maybe we'll have a new member by then.
Yeah.
Deb's making a comeback.
Is she? Have you
I'll-
visited her?
I'll verify. I'm going by memory. I'll verify.
Okay.
It might not be
Okay.
conflict,
All right.
but I think it is.
We see.
So I chose August as our month that we, gave ourselves a little breathing room.
One meeting in August.
I need the.
Sounds like we're only gonna have, sounds like we're only gonna have one meeting in February too, and one meeting in March.
So actually, this November, I already told you the date I'm not gonna be here. I already gave you that.
So you're not here for the November meeting?
If there's only one meeting in November,
That's right.
I won't be here.
The 16th.
No, I'll be out of state. NATO maneuvers.
Okay.
I will definitely be away June 8th, 2022. And I'm pretty sure July 27th. I know.
It sounds like you have way too
No,
much
it's
time.
a busy vacation year. It's just,
See vacation.
Vacation revenge from COVID?
yeah, yeah. Actually, the February one got postponed from this year to next year because of islands being shut down.
Oh,
Right.
well,
You mentioned that possible person. Maybe we should talk about that now.
yeah.
But
Somebody sent me an email that they were interested in joining the commission. So, I sent it to Amy. From what I saw, it appears to be a young guy, but has no wetlands background at all to speak of.
You,
Neither did I.
look at how you
What's
worked
his
out.
name?
yeah, okay, you're up five, you come.
John,
Thanks.
John Lacey.
Ah,
John Lacey.
But my suggestion is, she'll give the record, what the background. Maybe we could consider making an associate.
That's always my suggestion,
To
is
see how it
anytime.
works out.
Well, my suggestion for that is more than just see how they work out. Let them see what it is that we do.
Right.
Because a lot of people, once they get here, they go, not for me. So as an associate, they have a chance to observe and learn the process and decide if it's something they're really interested in making a commitment to or not.
The last year, not for me, was like 28 years ago. But we had a couple
So-
back then who came aboard and said, not for me.
So,
But most of them stuck around.
are associates able to vote on things if a
Only when
quorum
you
is
don't
needed?
we have no other basis to form a quorum. They can participate in debate, and when you don't have a quorum, they can round out a quorum. Depending how our bylaw is written and how our
Right.
town, board of
Sure.
selectmen make that appointment.
Okay,
So associates can vote
Subject to
only
conditions.
to round out a
Certain-
quorum.
oh, okay. Not to make a quorum, but to broaden,
Right.
to
But they can
broaden.
participate in discussion and debate and
Well-
sit at the table and
Just to clarify, when you say round out a quorum, you mean to make a quorum?
to make a quorum.
Yeah, to make quorum. so
Oh,
yes.
oh, okay, all right.
So for example, we had, 3 of us who can make a meeting and the associate can,
You
that
got
makes the
quorum
quorum.
Okay,
Does it-
gotcha.
does-
But you have to
That's a good-
verify
that's a
that
good
with
thing.
council
That
and
is
make sure our town bylaw is correct to that, because it has to be stated that way. I think it is.
I think the MACC handbook has a section on associate members.
Yeah.
And that would be a good,
Yes, it would.
that handbook would be good to use for reference. That would be the standard.
Does anybody, was I right with the name, Amy?
John Lacey?
Yeah. Does anybody, John Lacey?
Amy, is there anything we need to sign today?
Yes,
Why don't we do that?
let's do that.
Yeah, we can do all kinds of things.
Oh,
And we can play Go fish.
I guess Jamie's looking for a vote to approve the calendar for 2022.
Sure.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. We'll vote for anything, that don't mean we're gonna show up.
So we've given them 7 minutes from the 5, and I think based on the discussion we had, until we know the acceptability of the as-built condition, the interim as-built condition, I don't think we have anything that he can contribute unless he comes in with an as-built plan from Meridian.
That ain't gonna happen.
So I think, I'm gonna make a motion that we continue this. And
I'll second the motion for discussion. I mean, I think we should, set a time on that clock, and if he's not here by that
Take
time, then
20 out.
maybe we do that, or quarter of or something.
As soon as we're done doing these,
Okay, yeah, never mind. Second, I take back.
and we have no
my-
decisions, just paperwork to pass around?
We'll just do paperwork now and see how we'll get everything ready to close.
I'm gonna give you copies of the first draft of the amended order for 1210 Osgood, so you guys can have it and review it and digest it.
just don't give it to me.
I can
Oh,
email it.
okay.
I can,
You have enough copies?
yeah, I can.
And then as soon as we get done, just quickly read the bio of that guy.
What?
Read the bio of that
I
guy.
didn't see a
No,
bio,
we
you know.
shouldn't be doing it at a public meeting.
No? We're gonna adjourn.
Shouldn't be having that. What is this?
This is draft
Wait, so
amended
we're
order
talking
for
about-
1210 Osgood.
Okay,
So all the yellow is,
okay, so let me put it with this Jeffrey Brown letter
yeah.
and my Allison McKay letter, okay?
I knew you'd get fired out with that.
One more document, I think.
One
Talked
thing,
about that today.
there are some things that honestly are just not funny. That's one of them.
You know something?
It's just not
There's
funny.
probably a whole bunch of stuff that we don't know.
I get it, and
Are the changes
half,
highlighted in the
her alter
amended
ego
order?
still works here.
Really?
Think for a minute, I don't have to say anymore. Her alter ego still works here. If you can't connect that dot, I'll write it on my hand for you.
You might have to write it.
Yeah, because I'm drawing a blank.
I might
So
not
the
read
department that
it.
just gave you my shot?
Oh.
He does,
Yeah, exactly.
he's still game.
That's what,
I mean, I'm sorry,
See, I
but
wasn't
that's,
around when Skippy was here. Oh, sorry.
wasn't me,
whoever that was.
wasn't me,
What do you do for a living?
wasn't me, counselor.
So, my favorite info.
What else do we have to do or talk about?
I can
think we've
keep it going.
satisfied
I
the
have
10-minute
to.
rule.
See, Jamie, I'm ahead of schedule.
Hold on, we're gonna get,
Well, this is a good social media platform if anybody wants to step up.
right?
You guys see Squid Games?
Let's see. Well,
What?
watershed update?
2 minutes.
All right.
Oh, that's,
Basic findings. Existing watershed regs do not require major revisions, but some updates include references, alternatives to de-icing and development of land acquisition plan. Water sampling showed general improvement since 1987. Stormwater BMPs within the watershed are suggested, sand filtration being one of the more attractive and cost-effective options for where they're appropriate. So the water sampling program for the town needs some updates, including annual audits to ensure accuracy of the data.
So a recommendation is sand filtration infrastructure is a good candidate between Ray's Pond and Butcher Boy, yet we just approved bank stabilization with solid rock with no sand filtration.
For the stabilization of the roadway.
So this is it's a very good recommendation, but we just did a project to the contrary.
With the information we had to work with. We
with
did-
what we had
I
to
know,
work.
We
I
did it with
mean-
the information we had to work.
I
We
mean-
didn't have this
And-
information.
I don't know what
and
to
the
do with the-
applicant was the town.
But we didn't
True.
have, we didn't,
I'm
we-
just
we
curious.
were not in possession of this information at the
Right.
time.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
You
trying to
can't
connect
move
the
You
dots.
can't move the goalposts, you know, in the middle of the game. You have to,
That's right. The pet waste thing is something that I think somehow we have to change behavior, because people are in they're just in the habit of going, they go in off of Stevens Street, down the berm there. They take a right, they go to the first beach, we call it Stump Beach, and the dogs go in, they all go in right there. They
Oh, I
just,
know.
that's
That's
their
right.
routine,
That's right.
and I think
Yeah.
that's the
We
main
gotta
part of the problem.
shift people to,
Now, I know
the
that's the
trustees.
outlet of our
I know, but-
lake, but still, it's a
Yeah, but
violation.
but what's the
They
parts,
run in and
what's
they're-
the parts per million of how many dogs and how much dog waste goes in? What's the PPM on
gross.
it?
I'd actually be more concerned with Stevens Pond swimming, because that
Yeah,
outlet there
exactly.
is getting into the
Exactly.
the bacteria in
That's
the
right.
beach area.
That's
That's
right,
right.
and that also eventually gets to the Merrimack
It's
River. But
gross.
the thing that concerns me more than anything is the GLSD. I wanna know how many millions of gallons a year they dump into the river without treatment because they get overwhelmed with too much water.
That's the only time
That's
they
the,
do.
but that's a standard thing that's been going on, Jack.
It
It's
has
been
been.
going on since we outlawed the interceptor sewer on 114 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, 30 years ago, we issued an enforcement order against our own DPW because the west side interceptor was undersized. And then when they appropriately sized it, the GLSD said, well, thanks for building it up, but it doesn't matter, we're gonna dump it into the river anyway because we can't handle it.
Do you remember the motivation
I
back
mean,
then?
we worry
The
about a couple of
motivation
dog
was
poops, and
nobody
there's a couple
denied-
trillion gallons going into the river.
Nobody denied the east side interceptor was overburdened. The town did not have enough money. We've applied under the SRF, State Revolving Fund. Year after year after year, we never got enough points rising high enough to be eligible to get picked and selected for funding.
Even after.
Well, I happen to know, the way to get funding on the SRF is to be in non-compliance.
Right.
We found them in non-compliance, they got funded $1 million grant,
Right.
because we found them in compliance, thank you very much.
But do you remember what we had to go through?
They fixed it.
Yeah.
Do you remember the
Right.
manhole down by the Shawshee River that was cascading 15 feet
Oh
up
my
into the air?
God.
Yeah.
Right?
And we watched it
And we watched
shoot
it
out.
happen, and the town's answer was to bolt it shut, which forced the sewer into the basements of every house on the street.
Yeah.
That was the
right.
solution.
Oh.
Like, Are you-
That's a true story.
and so, why do I bring this up? Because when you talk to me about a couple of dog poops on the side of the hill, you're not even gonna get my attention.
Well, there's,
It's irrelevant to me, because
The Lake Kachiklik is different from the
gallons of waste
Merrimack
go into that river
No, I
on
get
an
it.
annual basis.
Yeah.
And people downstream have to deal with it.
Yep.
So, as far as that stuff is concerned, yeah, it's fun to talk about it, but it,
So I'm looking at these bullets, and, I mean, one of the biggest factors was the IEP, was the IEP study back in the 80s?
yes.
IEP, right?
No,
Amy, what time
you're
is
talking
this
about the water into the sewer.
I'm sorry?
No, I'm talking
what
about
time did he
the
send
watershed
that?
itself.
8:30.
IP.
Yeah,
IP.
he just
So the
turned
biggest
on,
contributor then was
he's
nutrients
probably
for
partial right
fertilizer.
now.
Nutrients for fertilizer.
I'm
But I'm not
sorry.
seeing any reference about, how we're benchmarking,
No,
how we're
you're cool.
performing.
I'm
on
gonna go to the
nutrients.
Well,
bathroom. I'll be right back.
we capped it at 5%.
Yeah, but how do you measure it? Are we,
How do you measure it exactly?
yeah,
How
are
do you
we,
measure it?
are we showing progress
Well,
in
this
that,
goes
in that
back,
regard?
Here he
this
is.
goes back to something that we
Here he
like to
is.
talk about.
There he is.
So it's
This goes
okay.
something that goes back to something we
You
like to
just
talk about, and then I'll
made it by
stop.
15 seconds.
Baseline
You're
data.
up, you're up.
Hold on, I'm gonna close by saying,
Okay.
when I pound the table requesting baseline data, baseline
Yep,
water
yep,
analysis,
yep.
these are exactly the reason why I do it, because as Joe points out, we have no baseline on those nutrients in the lake.
So back when IEP did their study back in the 80s,
Yeah.
87-ish, one of the biggest contributing factors, besides the Giardia problem,
Yeah.
was nutrients coming in through phosphorus and nitrogen from
nitrogen.
fertilizers.
Yes.
And it resulted in
Yes.
us in putting the almost unenforceable requirements on
5%.
Deed
on
restrictions for
fertilizers.
fertilizers, yep.
But I see no discussion in this brief summary that says we are showing improvements for phosphorus and nitrogen because we made these measures. They're not even talking about it.
Because it's
It was the
never-
biggest issue.
It's
you know.
never measured.
30
They
years
don't
ago.
measure it. They talk about it, and they don't measure it.
Yeah,
So
I know.
when we go from year to year to year, there's no measurement. We don't
I know, a part of it was that the data that they did have wasn't like
Listen, you can't.
reliable.
You can't put a silk purse,
If
make
it-
a silk purse massage
No,
here.
I get
If
it.
you don't get baseline data
Yep.
and renew it every year,
Right.
nobody's gonna
No,
know
I
anything.
get it.
All right, so,
Bill's here.
I rest my case,
Okay.
sir.
Oh, please finish.
No,
No,
we're
no,
done.
we're done.
Oh, no, we've,
We're done.
we're well done.
Listen,
We are well done.
we've already partially checked out, so you have a
Really
challenge.
sorry about that one, yeah.
That's all right,
okay.
that's all right, go ahead. You're
all
on,
right.
you're up.
So I just gave him an update that, you know, you've mucked out the basin, you have the control structure in.
Yep.
You know, my question to you was, is Meridian gonna get out there and do, you know, the survey to make sure your elevations are correct, your
Still
bottom?
doing as-built once it's done, but I mean, yeah, there'll be something following the construction. You have a certified size and everything, capacity.
Okay.
So what we were talking about, and I apologize because you weren't here, but we'll just restate it now so you hear it, is you've made great progress, really good effort. What we don't know is whether everything is at the elevations where they need to be, and that the outlet control structure is proper at the right elevations and the right locations, and it functions as intended. And for all the great effort, we need that documented, and we don't have that, so.
Okay.
You're talking about an as-built, meaning, there's a couple ways to look at it. Final as-built, this is done and this is it. But we
Well-
need an interim as-built. We need to know what you've got out there now is going to do its job before we ever consider what happens
I would
up
say
there.
the time for that would be once the loom is in, because the loom is gonna impact capacity of the pond. But I mean, we can definitely get Meridian out to shoot some,
Yeah, so that's what we need.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I think we need.
because I mean, once the pond is loomed, I mean, it's pretty much complete, so we can survey it.
Mike,
Have you been taking any shots as you've been doing it?
Yeah, I mean, we have GPS modeling built into the equipment anyway, so it's running off the CAD files, and it's kind of automatic. But yeah, we're out there with the rover checking into everything, shooting elevations. But we run stakeless, so it's kind of hard for you to see, because it's all in the cab of the machine. But we can certainly put out a couple stakes and identify them, so you can kind of see where we're at, if that's helpful.
my
Think of
issue,
that.
my issue with the whole thing is, first of all, is get that detention pond certified that it is what it is, that it's gonna function and do what it's supposed to.
Yep.
The foundation and all that stuff blows me away because up top is kind of messed up. But I mean, normally when somebody applies for an NOI, they show us a conceptual plan where the structures are, the elevations, and then we review them, or we send them up for third party, whatever the commission decides, and then we act on it. What you're asking us to do is to let, okay, you can put the foundation in. We don't know where it is, don't know how big it is, we don't know where the structures are, we don't know where the drainage is.
But that's all been done through the planning, I mean, plans were
Yeah,
done, I
but
mean,
not,
it's,
everything changed when you had this disaster and all the water went into the wetlands. It
So I
made
have
you-
to do
it made
another
you juris-
third-party
it-
review
It
on
made
the
you
plans.
jurisdictional. So once you were jurisdictional, you came under us, correct? So therefore, now you're gonna come play go by our rules. Now, I haven't seen the stormwater plan from, planning. I haven't seen the third-party review from planning. We might not agree with it or not, because I have an issue with the third-party review, but we won't go there. But I feel that we should see a set of plans with all the structures and all the elevations, and then that we see it, we review it, or like I said, third-party review, and then we move forward. Not, I don't think we should be putting the cart in front of the horse. And that's how I feel. I mean, and I have this thing, and it's not your fault, but once there's a violation, I really lose faith in what's going on, so I want to make sure everything is there. That we have something to hang our hat on. Here's the plan, you know, I'm not disputing your word or how you're gonna do this thing, and I'm not disputing that at all. But we have to have something to hang our hat on when somebody asks us a question, that we're not going, well, I don't know, or he said. It never did when I was in business, it didn't fly with me either. So,
Yeah, so this is, I mean, continue on what you just said.
but no, that.
This is a little different than normal for sure, because it was something that was out of jurisdiction that the planning board had sole and exclusive control over, and they did their thing. it became jurisdictional because of the violation. So the NOI is appropriate, the NOI is going to address the discharges in the stormwater retention management area at the base. It's gonna talk about how it is going to restore the impacts downstream for sure, it has to do that. But I do think, in my opinion, I think it's a little unfair to open the whole thing up the hill. However, during the review of the pond and the downstream, we have to verify those inputs coming in. So some review of what the previous work was is appropriate, but I don't think we're looking for third-party review of the whole damn project. I think we're looking at it from the pond itself, which is gonna rely on some of that data from upstream, as well as how it impacts what it is proposing to do the restoration down below.
But
So I think in the end, I think we get the same thing, but I don't think we're invoking a full third-party review of the entire project.
I'm not, if the commission feels we don't need a third-party review, then we won't have it. But the part I'm saying is where all the structures are going, where they're going, the elevation of the structures. Now, like you say, they fixed the pond, okay? They fixed the pipe coming down to the pond. But the site on the top where the building is, normally if somebody came before us, we'd see a plan with the building and the manholes and the pipes and the elevations and the grading, where the water's gonna go. We would know that. We don't know that now.
No, it needs to be verified by Meridian.
Well, that's not gonna be part of the NOI, right? If you have an NOI that's coming to us, that's being prepared by, Norse. So I would assume that the NOI would be all-inclusive and have that data. That's my impression.
I mean, I think it's online too with the planning department.
You're talking about the planning one, yeah, but,
I mean, everything's
But
there.
it has to be applied for under this NOI.
Oh,
It
So-
should-
so
to
I-
address the
I-
downstream
yeah.
stuff, it has to be.
yeah, we recognize what the.
yeah. No, I mean, it's
But yeah,
attainable.
You think you have a lot of it in your pocket already, right?
I'm sorry?
You think you have a lot of it already?
So you need North
because of your
package.
prior filing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
You think you have a lot of the documents that we're talking about in your back pocket because of the prior filing in front of the planning board, right?
Well, I mean, as far as planning goes, I mean, there's a civil design, there's all the SWIP, there's all that, there's the, you know, the third-party
So
review
it'll be
was,
a repackage of
Yeah,
that
so we
with the
repackage
notice of
that
intent.
plus whatever else is required under our NOI reform.
And I don't
Yeah. We're not asking to reinvent the whole wheel, but you have to.
No.
repackage
but you guys
it,
haven't
submit it.
received any of,
Not yet, so I talked to
so does
Maureen.
should it come from planning, or should I?
No,
speak to
it-
the-
It's the applicant.
But I mean, I'm sorry, in advance of the NOI though, because you're saying. you
With the
haven't seen
NOI.
it. I understand that, but,
The NOI is everything for you.
right,
The NOI is
Yeah,
everything for
so-
you. That's gonna tell us everything. From that is what we will issue our order of conditions.
right, but do you want an advance copy of the civil plans and so you can
No,
look at them? 'Cause it
I
sounds
think,
like you're-
I'm gonna only answer for myself. I don't wanna see in advance anything. I want, when the NOI is ready,
Just one time.
I'm ready to look into
But
it,
it's-
dive into it, study it.
It'll be easy, because it's just Norse repackaging what's already existing with the notice of intent.
You know, this way, it's just like you just coming off the street, filing for an NOI, your packages, all your plans, what's gotta be, what you're planning on doing, where the stormwater is gonna be and all that stuff. And then we'll go from there. Trying to say, okay, we'll let you put the foundation in, and then we're gonna worry about this, and we gotta get the calculation, but it's too chopped.
So I think what we're saying is, is that we wanna see the NOI in front of us before we consider the foundation for the building. That's what I think I'm hearing. I mean, if I'm wrong,
I agree with that position.
Yeah, I agree. And
So
we don't-
that-
And we don't base our decisions on planning or zoning or health.
and I'm not
building or-
being punitive to you, believe me, I'm not. I just think that, for me to have confidence in a decision, I wanna have that document in front of me that I can look at and study it. And I'm not talking about third-party review. I'm not saying we need one, but I wanna be able to look at the whole NOI document based on everything that we know and the numbers, and then we have confidence, because then we'll give you an order of conditions that has to be satisfied before you put the foundation in. So, that's an honest answer.
Have you've probably been through the process before, right, as a developer and landowner?
Not post-construction.
Not post, but what we're saying is it doesn't matter. The same pre or post, once you're now in our jurisdiction, doesn't matter if you're pre or post, it's the same steps. Is that what you had to say, guys?
Yeah, it's our process.
I'm not, the things that I'm asking, not trying to be penalized.
What I envision is what it is that he has approved with the planning board is his project.
Right.
And annexed to that, the restoration of the stormwater management area down below, the discharge from it, and everything downstream, the impacts and the restoration of the impacts. So this is already done. Tack these other two components to it, and that's his NOI.
That's what I was trying to point out.
That's all it is. So it's really,
Well, it's
Well,
also gonna
it's-
involve the downstream
I'm
impacts.
less
It's gonna-
concerned about packaging the NOI. What I'm thinking right now is it's October.
Yeah, I know.
You know, when the NOI gets done, and then you guys review it, and then come back with an order of conditions, like, I'll just temp seed the thing for the winter and come back in the spring. Because you're gonna put me into December.
I don't know how we can make it happen any faster for you.
Well, I just can't stabilize that top. There's no way to do it if I don't put the foundation, because it's cut into the side, and it holds, and it retains the back slope.
well,
So that's what it is.
so you're still under an enforcement order, and you can't cause any other additional impact, so you can't just walk away from the site, because you have to maintain erosion controls and stabilization.
I'm seated.
button it up for the winter.
Yeah. And if you button up for it, that, then, yeah, that just
It's unfortunate.
decision you make, I can't make
It's
it.
unfortunate, but we didn't create the situation, or what we got, what we got. It should, but now we got it, so now we gotta try and fix it. And work with the applicant as best we can. Myself, I'm trying to be consistent with all applications that we do. And I've never seen us allow buildings and stuff like that, foundations to be put in without.
Yeah, I think the calendar, the time of the year, the circumstances, you know, way beyond anybody's control other than the applicants themselves. If this had happened earlier, had they moved on it quicker, had they been able to get consultants aboard, things would be different, but here we are, and
Well, if we didn't
there are
get-
things that have to happen in
Right,
in
we didn't get all
order.
that rain
Well,
either.
for-
Yeah,
for-
there's
for July
there's no
to-
reason to point anything at anybody. It's just the fact, this is the way it's played
where
out,
it- It's where we are.
and here
It's
we are.
unfortunate.
It's also, hold on, you're right, everything you said is right, but also, who you hired to put the NOI together is taking their sweet time getting it here.
Well, I think that fact, you know,
I mean, I'm just gonna call a spade here, okay?
no, I agree with you.
That thing
It's-
should have been here by now. And
Yeah.
you can't tell me why it's not. So, that's another factor has nothing to do with us. We said in plenty of time, get us an NOI.
Yep.
And you hired, whoever you hired to do the NOI, we don't see it, so,
Well, I mean, I hired somebody off your list.
well,
I mean,
and I get it, and again, I get it.
You know what you can do with lists.
well, you know,
Be careful. I appreciate,
I
I
didn't go to
do.
the yellow pages.
I-
I went to,
So anyway, that's my most honest answer that you're gonna get from me all night. If we had gotten that thing sooner, we could have closed it sooner.
yeah, but then you factor in the rain too, and that pushed everything out. They were out there, the wetlands are flagged now, so I would imagine it's still coming, but
So.
I agree with you, it's taking a
I
long
see
time.
nothing but positives
Early
here.
on, we were critical.
I see
As
that-
things went on, you showed some great effort.
Yeah, but I see nothing but positives here.
It hasn't
okay?
even stopped raining. This is the first week where it hasn't rained.
I know, and it's gonna be a nice week.
You know,
I
we
get it.
had it dry 3 weeks ago, and then we had to start over again.
Right.
I think you gotta get us the NOI,
Yeah,
and the sooner we get that, the sooner we can act on it.
that's fine. I mean, I just have to be honest with you, like, if it tracks into winter conditions, I'm not
I
gonna
know.
pull the plug on it, I'm gonna just tuck it in for the
And
winter.
maybe we'll have a mild winter. We
Now
have
you
had
said
mild
that.
winters.
Yeah, maybe my hair will turn black.
Well, we have had really mild winters in the.
Stop bragging.
You know, they have stuff for that in here.
Stop bragging.
There's product out there for that. Not that I've obviously touched it.
Come on, will you?
My lawn already
I
died.
know,
What's that?
so,
My lawn already
all
died.
right, I guess status quo,
So we know that November's a wet month. We know that. That's the wettest month of the year statistically.
I would say it was July, but that's fine.
Yeah, I think you
This
might be
year-
right on this year. you
I hope.
I guess we
you
could
know.
redo the statistics and you wouldn't be
Better not
wrong.
rain like that in
I wouldn't
November.
argue with it, but in the past, history has taught us that November's pretty bad. It could be all screwed up this year and be different. October's,
I hope so.
although October's been wetter than normal. So I'm just gonna urge you to get us the NOI as soon as you can, and we'll do the best we can for you
Yep.
from this end. We won't delay.
Yeah, no, and I'm not trying to use that as, well, if I don't get my foundation, I'm, walking away. That's not what I was saying.
No, I
didn't
didn't-
that comment, but it's, you know, logistically, to try and do a foundation in the middle of winter, it's not a great way to do it. I may try, but I doubt it, and, you know, if it's mild, I'll go for it, but that's assuming we get the permission to move forward. But,
Yeah.
you know, when I said I would tuck it in, it means I would, you know, temp seed it and
No, I get it.
try and get some
I took
vegetation
it,
growth.
I took it the way you meant it.
Okay.
So, I'm gonna move to continue
Yeah.
pending receipt of the NOI.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Continuing for 2 weeks to keep it on an agenda spot.
Keep you in the cycle, which is
So,
awesome.
if the NOI, for some reason, isn't complete, do I need to appear in 2 weeks, or is
That's
it
what
once
I'm
we
trying
get
to
the
lay down.
NOI, I can come in?
You gotta fi-
'Cause I don't know
file-
what Norse's tracking is, I can certainly touch base with him tomorrow and communicate with Amy on that.
I would say, if you be in touch with Amy, and if there's no reason for you to be here, you could request a continuance over the phone with her, and we
Okay.
just handle it accordingly.
That's fine.
We're not gonna force you to come in and visit us.
Not that I don't enjoy our time
Yeah,
together.
this
No,
is-
of course not, right?
We're,
It's gotten better as time has
Yeah.
gone on, hasn't
We
it?
have a lot of kids. It's
we
hard
know
to
that
get-
we're the most popular board in town, we know that, but.
Yeah, right.
As long as you keep doing what you're doing, it's fine.
Yeah, right.
You don't need to.
So you got a motion to continue, I second.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed, that's unanimous.
So,
and we're still okay to continue on the items on the list, just kind of cleaning up and
Items
whatnot?
on the list that
Okay.
are allowed under the enforcement.
I think it was all the items at this point
Yeah.
were clear, so. Okay, cool.
Okay.
All set with me, guys?
Thank you, yes.
Again, sorry for being late.
No,
No.
don't worry about it.
Thank you
so
for,
much.
thank you for coming in, we'll talk to you.
Anytime.
Okay.
Motion and I'll be in touch.
Okay,
Second.
all right,
All those in
thanks.
favor say aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Opposed, that's unanimous.
We stand adjourned, thank you.